Welcome to the Bold Analysis. My name is Frank. There is a particular trend that I've noticed with a lot of concern, especially from the president, the man mandated to run this country, as was he's been giving along the tour.
Anatuletea. Tufanye kazi sio? Tuendelee na kazi sio? Wale wanasema tuendelee na kazi nione kwa mkono. Sijui kama tunaelewana. Tuko pamoja? Vile vile mimi tayari mutaniona hivi karibuni hapa Galana Kulalu. Na nimesema hiyo Galana Kulalu lazima iwe ni mahali ambapo Tana River na Kilifi wanaungana pamoja, ndio tuweke program ya food security ya Galana Kulalu ambayo itafaidi watu wa Tana River, watu wa Kilifi, na tuzalishe chakula ya kutosha ya taifa letu la Kenya. Pale tunakuja kujenga damu kubwa. Na nimesema wakati tunajenga hiyo damu kubwa, lazima tuwe na livestock corridor ya kutoka hapa Tana River mpaka ifike kwa ile maji, ndio watu wa hapa mifugo yao iweze kupata maji. Ndugu zangu watu wa Tana River, mnakubali tuendelee namna hiyo? Tuendelee ama tuendelee? Tuendelee ama tuendelee? Ati kuna watu wengine wanafikiria kwamba watatufanyia maandamano ati Kenya isimame. Hii Kenya itasimama kweli? Kenya itasonga mbele, haitasonga mbele? Wale wanasema Kenya itasonga mbele nione kwa mkono. Na mimi nataka niwaambie, hatuwezi mimi nataka niwaeleze jameni, hatuwezi kuruhusu taifa letu lifanyiwe karata ya pata potea. Watu wachukue, wafanye maandamano, walete maafa, walete uharibifu wa mali, wachome manyumba ya serikali, wachome mambo ya serikali kwa sababu ya mambo ya kibinafsi. Mimi nasema ya kwamba tutatetea katiba ya Kenya. Tutahakikisha ya kwamba kuna usalama katika taifa letu la Kenya. We will not allow a few people to destroy our democracy and to destroy our country. We are a peace-loving nation. We are a nation that believes in the rule of law. We will never allow a few people to cause mayhem, to cause anarchy, to destroy property, to burn down government buildings, to cause problems in our republic. We must stand together as Kenyans to defend our democracy and to defend our nation. Watu wa Bangale tunaelewana jameni? Munasema tusimame imara? Na nimewaambia wale wote, Kenya ni nchi ya demokrasia. Hawa wananchi ndio wanaamua viongozi kutoka MCA mpaka rais. Uongozi wa Kenya haiamuliwi kwa fujo, haiamuliwi kwa social media, haiamuliwi kwa maandamano, haiamuliwi kwa vita, haiamuliwi kwa kuua wa Kenya. Uongozi ya Kenya inaamuliwa na Wakenya hapa kupitia demokrasia, na Wakenya wanajua vile ya kufanya hiyo kazi. Jameni, watu wa Bura tunaelewana jameni? Tunaelewana? Tuko pamoja? Munasema tuungane?
That is what the mood has been along his coastal tour. He started somewhere in Kilifi, Mombasa, he was in Tana River, he was in Taita Taveta, then I don't know today where he will be, but that has been what we've been reading. You know, it is usually an expectation that when a president visits somewhere or a head of state, then maybe a good number of stalled projects are likely to resume or fresh ones are likely to be started. That has been the confidence of wananchi. That would translate as to why you see those people clapping. Some of them just clap without knowing the actual reality of whether some of these promises or gifts are actually attainable. I saw somewhere on Sunday, I think so, where the president said that henceforth people will be traveling abroad seeking for jobs. We'll be paying for them, we'll be facilitating them in terms of paying for them even air tickets. Passports will be available within 1 week. Something like passport is understandable. It's a matter of bureaucratics, it's possible. But then, how many people, if today a population of 2,500 Kenyans, for instance, decide that they are traveling to a country like Canada, how much will the state spend on air tickets alone in that facilitation, if it is something that the government is not said to benefit from directly? What is your interpretation of that? It means that there is a trick that is being used somewhere. And the question that I keep asking myself, especially in regards to the issue of jobs, why do we have to do the brain drain? Why do we have to transfer our human capital to other countries when instead we can create an enabling environment for the utilization of that human capital? You know, that has been also one of the criticisms leveled against this government. I want you to listen to this conversation that I was following on, I think it was on Spice FM, by veteran journalist Mashara Gaido. Just a snippet of it, then we continue.
There was a handshake, and with that handshake, there was survival.
Right, and then...
So, he's looking for survival.
If a handshake in 2018 was bad, why is a handshake today good?
It wasn't bad then. It was just bad to those who are not in the handshake. Those who shook hands didn't have a problem with it. They survived. If you're looking for survival, look for where. Have you seen a working formula for survival? Yes. When? In 2018. What happened? There was political survival.
Eric, let me ask
Are you looking for political survival today? Yes. What has been tried and tested? Clinical trials.
You see, the challenges were different then.
Yes.
In 2018, the threat President Uhuru Kenyatta faced was coming from his deputy president. So he had to be neutralized by bringing in Raila. The threat President William Ruto faces today is from the people. Will Raila neutralize the people? Yes, he'll satisfy his base probably, but the people who were out in the streets were not his base. He has no power over the Gen Zs, and he has no power over all the other people who are not necessarily Gen Zs, but broadly supported that revolt. And these are people of all age groups, all social classes, all ethnicities and regions. They were not limited to somebody's political caucus. Can he contain that? Can Raila contain that? I don't think so.
Is it possible that they've calculated and seen that those are the minority and that their bases still form the majority?
Actually, that thinking makes sense because it is logical. But who foresaw that the Gen Z were going to go onto the street? People were busy thinking, the same thing you're saying, planning, feeling, this is how we've got this thing covered, okay? We've got it. Then one day they didn't get it. And then they've continued not to get it. Could it be that this is one of those moments where when you're tracing back and saying, you know, there was a politician in this country called Raila, that man's popularity was tremendous. And then he started waning. What happened? Could you trace it to such a moment where, yes, you have a lot of support, and somehow the support now, the base starts questioning also and saying, actually, guys, let's give this thing a second look. Because this movement is causing Kenyans to give this whole thing we call Kenya, and this arrangement, we have a second look. We're asking, are we really going to continue living this way? And that's why the question...
You know, from all that, there seems to be, the president seems to be thinking that he's in a political fix. He's actually not thinking, but he's actually in a political fix, and he's not getting it. He's not getting the reason as to why Kenyans came out on the streets, the Gen Zs. Those are representatives of the larger population of Kenyans. Came out to the streets against the finance bill and other issues that they highlighted, and they are still threatening to come out. He thinks that the push, or that his push to include the opposition in his government has actually calmed the situation, especially by bringing the opposition figures in his government. And that sort of imaginative political handshake, he also thinks that has given him a lifeline, just as I had stated. You know, the problems or challenges that is facing currently, we have to be true to this, that the problems or challenges that Ruto is currently facing are not wholesomely his wrongdoings, but rather problems that have matured over time, and any time that these problems or challenges used to arise or seem to arise in the past, they were usually given blanket political covers in the name of established task forces and dialogues. And you know, no matter how much you cover it, there is a time that they'll sprout beyond the cover. And maybe that time is now. And that is what Ruto need to come to reality with. You know, I saw somebody say somewhere that a leader should learn to be a reader. A leader should learn to be a reader. What does this mean? That for you to be a good leader, you must read. You must read what the governed are saying. What are their feelings? What do they want? What is the interpretation of them in terms of maybe the development projects that you're giving them? You know, today, you can decide that you're constructing a footbridge, when in real sense, that would be your interpretation, or some of the few representatives will tell you that we need a footbridge here, but then the needs of the people in that particular area maybe is a basic facility, social amenity like a healthcare or a school. So by you constructing a bridge, you'd be thinking that you've taken development to them. Yes, you've taken development to them, but it's not the necessitated development that they needed. Therefore, that is the reason as to why a leader should rather learn to be a reader. You know, in 2018, when there was a difference between Uhuru and Ruto that had preceded some years back, and Uhuru decided to bring Raila in on his government, at that particular time, the reason as to why Uhuru Kenyatta was bringing Raila to his government was the threat, the political threat from his DP, that is the deputy president. And thereby, by extension, Ruto should not think that bringing Raila into the government is not to facilitate or to cool down on the threat that is being given by his DP. No, the threat is not his DP, but rather the people that he governs. And that is why I tend to disagree with him when he sees this just merely or entirely as a Gen Z problem. People, to be true, there is a way in which they are feeling that they are pressed almost everywhere. Count it. The issues of unemployment, corruption, nepotism, the issues around surrounding taxation, you know, job losses, you know, name it, all that. That's a general feeling among the general population and not entirely a Gen Z feeling. So the Gen Zs were the particular type of the brave people within the population of Kenya who decided that they are coming out to represent the larger population. Indeed, if you wanted to note this thing, you know, the extension of the larger population were in support of the pursuits by the Gen Zs until up to a certain point that goons were infiltrated into these protests, and then some of them started to be convinced that, you know, these people are anarchists, they're out to destroy our country. All sorts of labeling. But the true reflection of the real picture on the ground still remains. So therefore, the president should come out and think, read out that this was not entirely a Gen Z problem, but rather a problem that Kenyans have been facing over time. But one thing that what we must be cognizant of is that Ruto's greatest undoing in all this has been the politicians who are around him. And if you want to know that this was it, I know you already know, but for him maybe, then he should try to watch how these politicians surrounding him, be it members of parliament, some of the people he has nominated to his cabinet, will quickly reset to the pre-finance bill, finance bill mode. And already that reset has been gradually coming back. Some of them who are silent or were silenced by the Tuwasalimie initiative are already starting to gain their voices. Already, we've seen even the members of parliament going against his presidential veto, where he rejected the entire finance bill and stood on a presidential dais and said that he is immediately calling for a ban on the budget spending or budget allocations that are given to the offices of the first and second lady. Already the members of parliament said that this is not attainable, and they voted that these budgets will remain. So that is why some of these politicians that are surrounding him are also part of his undoing, something that doesn't appear to him so, because when he gets that strength of dismissing an entire cabinet and then readmitting some of them, then it seems that he's not planning on the same. When he can still allow the House leadership that led him to the situation where the finance bill led him to continue executing their mandates within the House without any changes also, then it means that he's not seeing part of his bigger undoing. And also that he was trying to, I just mentioned it or highlighted it, to think that the protests were all about the labels that they given or that he gave the protesters. You name them, anarchists, foreign sponsored criminals, all that. Whether they were anarchists, whether they were foreign sponsors, or they were criminals, then in human psychology, there must have been a trigger. Maybe the foreign sponsorships, if they were there, they were just for facilitation. But there must have been a trigger somewhere that led to that. There is no way today a Kenyan could come out and pick donor fundings to come and destabilize their country when they've not seen a gap where they can use those funds to bring the stability. That is something that is not trading. I saw somebody saying that, maybe we are blaming Ruto too much, but maybe according to him, the so-called broad-based government that he has formed, maybe it seems to him that he's just created a new, or he's just obtained a new mandate and is now starting on a fresh term. But then, what should he do? What do Kenyans maybe expect of him to walk us from the current fixation that we are in? He should realize first and foremost that this is his first term. These are issues that are coming in his first term. If they could have come in his second term, then he could be safe politically. How will he face the electorate when a bigger chunk of the electorate, maybe the Gen Zs, have said that come 2027 will be sweeping the floors? How will he face that? How will he campaign? Will he go on a campaign podium and say, I blame Cabinet Secretary, maybe Kipchumba Murkomen or so and so, for having failed me here or for having supported me here? No, it will be his presidential election promises and not based on the people that he gave the mandate to help him carry out the mandate. Then, what he should also read something that what is the political intention of the likes of Raila Odinga accepting to be part of his government? If in the event that Raila Odinga fails to secure the AUC seat, chairpersonship bid, then what political fixation does he find himself in regards to 2027? Will Raila sit back and maybe support him? And maybe Raila will have seen maybe in his mind that, now that I've gotten a good step into the government, then I know where maybe to exploit, or I know where maybe there are weaknesses and that he cannot achieve whether I support him or not. Why don't I take advantage of this situation and also reoffer my mandate to Kenyans? What is the political intention of the people that he so purports to bring in the broad-based government? The other thing that he should be cognizant of is that this war seems to be a political class war versus the Mwananchi, in as much as they're trying to turn it to be a 1 versus 41 thing, but then it is a political class war versus the Mwananchi. That is what was the clear reading from the Gen Z protests. Then also, I agree with the people who have been saying that Ruto should have taken his time in the Ruto government to understand how it works and not just politic. Maybe that could have come in handy for him during this term. Thank you for watching. That marks the end of our analysis.